This is the Self Storage Podcast, where we share the knowledge and skills from the industry's leading investors, developers, and operators to help you launch and grow your self-storage business. I'm your host, Scott Meyers, and over the past 16 years, we have acquired, developed, converted, and syndicated over 2 million square feet of self-storage nationwide with the help of my incredible team at selfstorageinvesting.com, who has helped thousands of people achieve greatness in self-storage. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Self Storage Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Meyers, and starting and scaling a self-storage business requires a number of skills, from marketing to fill your funnel with opportunities, to financial underwriting and market analysis, to understanding how to structure the deal and then create the proper capital stack. And if you're going to syndicate your project, you need to master an entirely different set of skills required to legally and successfully raise capital. And once you open the doors, managing the asset and marketing it to increase occupancy requires yet another skill set to maximize NOI. Well, fortunately, we can hire others who have the expertise we're looking for, and in some cases we can outsource to the various vendors and agencies that specialize in these functions, and that's what my friend Andy Grimaud at StoreMore does so well. They provide third-party management for owners of self-storage facilities nationwide, as well as licensing of the StoreMore self-storage brand, and they excel in helping a facility reach its full potential through active owner management and state-of-the-art website development. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Andy Grimaud with StoreMore Management Services. Hey Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for welcoming me. Good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you again as well. And unfortunately, your partner in crime, Ted, is unable to meet with us, but hope that all is well with his family, and we'll just have to catch him next time. But I'm glad that you and I had a chance to catch up again.
Certainly. Look forward to it.
So I'm giving everybody a little bit of background on yourself and in your bio, but if you would, it's been a while since we've had a chance to catch up as well, Andy. So if you would, just kind of fill in the gaps and then also catch us up to speed as to what you've been up to over the past several months.
Sure. Well, over the past 18 years, we've been owners, developers, and a marketing service for websites. And, in the past, as we shared, we had 35 storage sites on storemoreselfstorage.com throughout Arizona, Nevada, California, and Texas. One of the things that we've always been, cutting edge on is, being a early adopter and beta testing a lot of things to try to figure out what works in technology. And, I find it difficult sometimes to, look at how the REITs are doing things and how does that translate to the little guys like us? And we don't have these huge budgets, but there are very efficient ways for us to be able to compete. And I think marketing is one of those things where management companies are kind of one size fits all. They really don't understand the individual trade areas. And basically, if they get a website set up for you, they figure they've kind of checked that box and leave it alone. So over the past few years, we've really worked hard on, trying to understand our trade areas, trying to understand what kind of marketing works there, whether it's, guerrilla strategies with the managers going out, or more importantly, how do people relate to the internet and, using that to be able to find you. And that's really where I think we excel, because we take the time to go through that, with the managers, with the owners, and really do something that's custom and being able to penetrate the market on a very budget-friendly cost basis. So, in the past, and still even currently, we're still developing, very slowly, trying to find those AAA sites like everybody else. But more importantly is paying attention to, our marketing, because again, that's the biggest bang for the buck. That's how we can grow our revenue, especially in these COVID times. I think that, people are more sensitive to going in to the facilities. And so they're relying more on their smartphones or their computers to be able to find you. And, they have to be able to do that. And there's a couple avenues, that we can talk about, as to trying to fulfill that and develop that relationship with your customers.
So let's do that if we could. And so we've, obviously in a different environment right now, and the storage industry, largely has been, we've had the technology in place with mobile websites, mobile-friendly websites, and websites, call centers, where we are, pretty quickly growing to a place where, many, if not all facilities could be unmanned. Maybe not all, but many sites could be unmanned. And so people are looking, in a different fashion, for storage now. And when I mean looking on different devices and in different ways, rather than just drive by and stopping in. and the rental process looks a lot different than it did as well. And we are moving to more of a touchless, and then also some folks are doing nothing but unmanned, and even changing some plans. We've talked to lots of developers right now that are, they're altering their office plans to go just completely unmanned as well. So tell me what that looks like on your side from the marketing standpoint. What are you doing to catch those eyeballs, with perhaps even keywords like touchless and things of that nature. What has changed over the past 3 months? How have you had to adapt, and what are you doing to get in front of folks, in the environment that we're in right now?
That's true. I think that, it has been a growing trend on our side, especially kind of in the Midwest, kind of on the West Coast. We haven't seen it as much. We're still seeing, the traffic starting to build, more and more. But I think more importantly is that the interaction between your potential customer and the site, whether it be your call center or the internet, being able to do your reservations and rentals online is becoming much more important. So being able to, generate a code, so a gate code so they can get in, they can do all their payments online, really does eliminate that interaction between your manager and the customer. So it has gone that way, more and more. Currently, right now, we are upgrading one of our facilities and changing the management software to be able to go to, full touchless, reservations and or rentals online with eDocs. It's a little bit of work and education, and I think that any owner manager has to kind of prepare for that. But it's one of those natural steps as you get it done, and you look at the benefits of having a up-to-date management software and then a state-of-the-art internet platform, for marketing in different avenues. Then you take a lot of stress off the management team. The owners are going to have much more insight as to where their customers are coming from, how is that traffic driven? And then you can make the decision as you've seen, how much more touchless do I want to go? Whether it's, you put a kiosk in and, have a manager, more or less on call, or, reduce their hours. So we're kind of seeing different versions of it. It really depends on how much traffic you're generating on your sites. One of our high volume sites might do 80 rentals in a month. So from a kiosk standpoint, there may be some benefits there to take some pressure off, but a lot of people still like to come in and, make their payments. And then it's demographically driven too. So I think more of the middle income people, where they're not, they're not using smartphones as much, are going to be more reliant on looking at, drive-by traffic. They see the facility, they're going to come in. So they may not be as internet savvy and comfortable using a kiosk as they would, coming in and doing their transaction the traditional way.
Mm-hmm. So, and I agree 100%. I mean, we obviously have seen huge changes, and so that means we've had to adapt on many levels. And I'm going to try to frame this question to get the answer that I'm looking for, which is, if we're looking to take over a site, an existing facility or development, and we're looking to use, your platform and what you do on your site, marketing, advertising, and perhaps getting some input from you on going that route, which is utilizing more technology versus the traditional person behind the counter, whether it be full-time or even part-time now. Are you assisting your clients with, changing the underwriting parameters as it relates to just maybe overall management dollars and or marketing dollars for the website? And then, ultimately, from the results that you've seen in terms of lease ups, do you assist your clients in the underwriting, saying, hey, this is what you can expect when you work with us and what our folks have found? I mean, you got a number of years under your belt now in your own facilities. Have you gone to that level? And I don't even know if it's to say bold enough to have them change their underwriting. And does that make sense? Is my question?
Yeah, I understand your question.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that would be their due diligence if they were acquiring a site, but I think understanding the demographics is going to be very important to see what the rate of adoption might be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the big thing is that, as we look at, evaluating potential customers' existing website, what kind of the marketing that they're doing right now, That way we can kind of dive deeper on trying to figure out what can we do to help, again, because there's an ecosystem, whether it's the operations, the website itself, and then the marketing aspect, and how does that all interact, and whether you're, having a call center, a kiosk, email campaign. So there's a lot of different components, I think, that make sense to take a look at and evaluate. But it all works together in a way that, at the end of the day, you say, okay, this makes sense. Okay, let's, spend more money on pay-per-click. Maybe we don't need to do, a call center because our call volume is too low. So, at the end of the day, you can still look at it and say, okay, let's try this out. The kiosks tend to be expensive, so it's hard to, send them back. But, that's a big commitment. I think that, once you do it, you really go feet first into it, then you're able to, reap the benefits.
So Andy, what would you say is, clearly the solution that you have and the service that you provide to folks, it ticks the box in terms of some unfound or newfound dollars, in their facility. What would you say is probably the biggest mistake that folks are making? I mean, I think investors are making when they're looking at facilities. I mean, you touched on the fact that if you put, and no offense to third-party property management companies, but in many instances, they do have a standard procedure that they provide to marketing and for a particular market. And what you do is you come in at a more micro market level and really customize the marketing for that. Would you, aside from that, or maybe you want to go deeper in that, where are some other folks really missing the boat when it comes to, looking at untapped value in a facility when they're getting ready to open the doors for the first time and lease up, or an existing facility where they're transitioning management?
I think the first thing you need to evaluate is, what is your budget for marketing? And, what we have found, it's either been non-existent, it's too little, or it's too much. And when you look at people, I should say, when you look at organizations about, how they do their marketing, sometimes they think that, more is going to compensate for weaknesses in other areas. And so that's why we like to be able to pinpoint exactly what are the most productive ways of earning customers without breaking the budget. We've seen people, fully using Yelp and spending thousands of dollars on that for referrals and not even being able to trace how many rentals they get from that. We've also seen where, for instance, using some of the popular aggregators. And, a lot of times, I think from a lease-up standpoint, that might be helpful, but we tend to like to, rely on the website and being able to get that to produce the most revenue without obviously breaking the budget, but more importantly, having, casting a wider net. There's a lot of things that managers can do. Again, we feel from a marketing standpoint and being able to get out there, get the name, whether it's, the Chamber of Commerce, working with local apartments, things that we feel for the long term kind of cast a nice halo on the facility, because, marketing, for self-storage is, a timeline that usually drags out quite a ways. And so it's how many times can you intersect that person, through, let's say, a year, and being able to get your name, store more self-storage, or, whatever, AAA self-storage, to be able to get that name. So when it comes time that they remember you, and whether it be a marketing piece, a keychain, a pen, some of these things are old school, and that's what they used to use quite often. But now, when people, excuse me, go on the internet, they're going to look at, either the organic side or the pay-per-click side. And typically they're going to call, one or two of those, and depending on who answers first is usually the one that they're going to go with. So, we feel that having a call center is a worthwhile investment, because you're going to get an immediate answer, and they can facilitate, getting those people to come do a tour, or if they're, doing their job right, they'll do the reservation and get them in the system, and then the manager can follow up with them. But if it's a drive-by, people are driving by your facility, that part of marketing is it clean and presentable? Is it something that people are going to be attracted to and, want to store their personal possessions in? So I think it's a bunch of different facets to the equation when you look at it. And we, like I've said, we've seen where people have not spent enough money and not focused on it. They have a static web page, or there's some places that we've seen where they don't even have web pages. They're not on Google Maps, but we find the facility to the extreme again where they're spending thousands on aggregators and third-party vendors who are providing, but they can't track it, to say that, the bang for the buck is there. But more importantly, I think that, once you understand what your marketing strategy is, then we can dive deeper into, what's the correct budget for this to be able to spend wisely so you can get a return on your investment.
So if you would, Andy, kind of circle back to, the solution that you provide, and, what is the biggest benefit to folks in using the Stormore brand?
Well, they can contact us at stormoreselfstorage.net or Andy at stormoreselfstorage.com. You can email me and we can give you a 15-minute free, no obligation consultation. Take a look at exactly what you're doing right now, and give you a B or C grade as to here's what we think we can do for you, or do improvements, or we think that you're doing a great job, keep it up. And then it's part of our marketing program is to take a look at what kind of management system are you working with, looking at the the website that you're currently showing your potential customers. And then we can re-engineer that, be part of the Stormore team. And we like branding. We know from a franchise, we're not a franchise, but from a branding standpoint, having a memorable name definitely goes a long ways because it's easy to remember. In the old days, people used to have a double truck in the phone book and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, for that to be, first. Now we're, looking at what is the organic search results. And, if you're on the first page in the first three, chances are you're going to get that phone call. But, we can go through and take a look at that. And if you want to use our name and be part of our website, we're more than happy to help you out and, work up, a way to make it budget friendly. We basically have one price that no matter how many rentals we have generated for you, that it stays the same. So that way you can know going forward that you're not going to get charged more like some of the other aggregators out there that, the more they rent, the more they charge. But more importantly, I think is, we have a great value for what we do to be able to get increased leads and have a platform that's, relatively customized and it's easy for us to maintain. We also have, being able to pay online. It shows what the pricing specials are, what kind of coupons are available, but, things that attract the eye and get people to contact you. And so that way we can be, have the brand awareness, which is kind of the icing on the cake, generate new leads, and it makes, you look as, part of a bigger environment. And we have a graphically distinctive design, which I think competes really well with all the other REITs. And our message is clear and suggestive, store more goods with us. I mean, it has a natural rhythm and flow, and it's easy to remember. So I think that's the big thing is, hopefully we can improve customer awareness, and more importantly, increase customer leads. I mean, that's really, what we're after.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Andy, if you would, and appreciate that. That's absolutely spot on. Tell us about, this could be one of the biggest mistakes that you've either seen in your business and your facilities when you started out early on, or perhaps one of the biggest mistakes that you've seen some of your potential clients or somebody else make in the marketplace. And then, what was the result of, addressing then that failure in the business or challenge in the business?
a good friend of mine has a facility, and they have anywhere from 7 to 8 employees. It's a large facility, and so they have an incredibly big staffing obligation. And that was one of the things. So they had asked us to come in and take a look and analyze exactly what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And I was really, I guess, impressed with the fact that they could staff that many people. And they had people that greeted customers and took them out to their storage unit. They had a couple people that were cleaning. They had an office manager, assistant manager in there. And I asked him, I said, why is there so many people here? I mean, it's your staff is huge, especially, I mean, it was a big facility, but still, we have a big facility too. And, we're still only running 1.5 to, 2 people with a U-Haul rental at the facility as well. So when we dived down into their marketing, that was the interesting thing too, was, they were, still utilizing Yelp and aggregators, and they were probably spending anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a month on aggregators, which I found very frustrating because, a lot of the work that the aggregators do are what your webpage should do. And so if we're talking about spending hundreds of dollars versus thousands of dollars, to be able to make that transition is usually pretty easy. And I think the biggest fear that people have is, hey, it works for me. And it's like, well, if I could show you a way to save a lot of money, wouldn't that be of interest to you? And being able to say, oh, I wouldn't have to spend $3,000 or $4,000. I could spend maybe hundreds or $1,000, do some pay-per-click and, have my website work efficiently. So we see that a lot. And it's interesting when you come up with solutions. People are really resistant sometimes to change because they're afraid of that change and thinking that it's really going to impact their new customer count. And, my challenge, to them would be, well, what would change, from that standpoint? Having good promotional materials, working the customer base that you have and, doing email campaigns, trying to get your repeat customer and referrals up. Those are things that's free money, low hanging fruit. And, if you directing your management or your management team to be able to implement that, there's a lot of downtime for them. They should be able to, go through that and, reach out to, past customers and market to them as well, because they do come back. And, if we're seeing anywhere from a 5 to 7% referral and previous customer rate, that's free money. And I think that's, cheap marketing, very cost effective. And, it's a great way to, expand your business again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of expanding a business again, Andy, as you see it, I'm going to ask you to get out your crystal ball, or if it's already out, dust it off. And, what are you seeing as we head into the rest of 2020 and beyond for, the investment side of your business, and then also perhaps for the brand side of the business and maybe the industry in general?
Interesting. And again, this is my opinion as to, what I've been seeing, in the Arizona territories where we have one facility still, we had one of the best quarters ever, and which was really impressive. I think that even though the amount of new rentals was down, the amount of people exiting, vacating was down significantly. And I think that is, due to the COVID, where people are just, not wanting to move out. We're seeing that collections have been going up a little bit, not too bad, but it's been manageable, and we've been really proactive with working with all of our customers that need help, and coming up with payment programs or whatever it takes to help them out, since a lot of people are unemployed right now. Over on the West Coast, we've seen it kind of flatten. And we're not seeing a lot of new move-ins, but the same thing, we're seeing less move-outs. But from the construction side, we've seen quite a number of new facilities going in still, whether it be Nevada, California, Arizona. So I think that's all driven by people leaving the state of California, where they're going to Oregon and Washington. We're seeing a lot of migration to Nevada and Arizona again. They're going to build a record number of homes in Arizona. I think something like 66,000 permits were pulled for Arizona and Phoenix in general. But in Las Vegas and the surrounding areas as well, we're seeing a lot of new homes and multifamily being built. Consequently, we're seeing a lot of new self-storage facilities there. And low interest rates are driving this as well. I mean, so if you can get permanent financing at, the low fours, why not? I mean, that's almost free money. That's, one of the nice things about our industry is that, the banks like them. When these things are stabilized and, producing, it's a very low risk environment for the lenders, and consequently it's been in favor for a long time. But I think what we're going to see in the future is some of this overbuilding is going to catch up with us in certain areas, and so you really do have to be sensitive to if you're looking at new sites, what is the potential for competitors to come into that market. To give you an example, we were offered a site in Las Vegas, and it was, a good-looking site, and I think would have scored well. We had 850 new apartments going in next door, but then we were looking at how many new proposed and permitted self-storage facilities were coming into the immediate area, and we found 6 for a total of 462,000 square feet going to be added into the market. So, I mean, it's shocking.
Wow.
I mean, it's almost 500,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So it was a deal killer. Well, there was no way, when you look at square feet per capita, that pushed it over 9, and the lenders, kind of throw up a red flag at that time. So, trying to find great sites for developers is difficult. So value add, I think if you can find things that are producing good, stable income, and there's some excess property there that you can build on, and whether you put in boat RV or, some, more climate controlled self-storage, if it's a Class C facility, to be able to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, is a good way to go. Less stress, you don't have to worry about all the development time and permitting and construction. And so it's, I think a great way to go. But more importantly, I think kind of circling back is, what can I do to my existing facility, to make it perform better, whether it's, cosmetics, to make it more curb appeal. For example, we just put on a solar array at our big facility in Phoenix, and it lowered our summer cooling bill by about $4,000 a month.
That's fantastic, and that may be a topic for another podcast because the discussion obviously comes up a lot, and in many states, the cost still, the ROI isn't there immediately. It's it takes 5 years to recoup that, to get the ROI on it. And typically syndicators like myself, if we're selling these in 5 years, it doesn't make sense for the investment. But to see a $4,000 decrease and have that done, immediately, and getting some ROI and payback on that, I know the technology is getting better, therefore the cost is coming down. And so, and there are more projects coming out with that. So that's good to hear. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different factors in self-storage that you could look at to try to increase your revenue. Again, is, from a marketing standpoint, what kind of training do the managers have, and being able to interact with new customers? Are you working with existing customers and trying to increase your referral basis? Do you have a call center, and, what is the message that's being conveyed, by them? And how is that all, translated from the call center to the manager? And how are they interacting with these, hot leads? Are they reservations? Or are there going to be walkthroughs? So, all of those components, can lead to more reservations. And more importantly is, how are you spending your money? A lot of people don't look at their budget. and they just say, okay, I'm gonna throw, a little bit more money this way. And they forget to take a look at, well, how many reservations and how many, what's my conversion rate?
Yep.
How many rentals did I really get out of it?
Yep, that's what it really comes down to. Well, Andy, once again, thanks so much. I appreciate your time today. All great information, and we appreciate you and everything that you're doing. The brand Store More is doing incredible things, and we're hearing nothing but good things from clients about working with you. So appreciate your time once again. A couple things before we sign off here. If you would, how about a parting success quote? It could be from somebody else, or it could be your own, or something that perhaps you live by or have embodied in your business.
One of my favorite, and I think a lot of people that grew up watching Star Trek always say, live long and prosper.
Yeah. Perfect. And Andy, any other resources, services you offer through your website, which might be beneficial to our listeners, blog, live events, or how can they contact you?
They can contact me at andy@storemoreselfstorage.com, and I'd be happy to give them a free, no obligation consultation. Take a look at what you're doing right or wrong. We do everything on a month-to-month basis, so there's no long-term contracts or obligations. And I think more importantly is to, it's always good to look and, make sure you're doing the right thing. And so, having a great group like you and your educational series, I think, goes a long ways to be able to reaffirm that. And so I think the more that people talk to groups and, each other and trying to figure out what's right and what's working, certainly helps. And,
Agreed.
And I think your platform is a great way for them to be able to learn more about what they should be doing right.
That's the goal. Yeah. Well, Andy, once again, thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everything that you do. So folks, reach out to Andy, and we can vouch that they are the real deal and doing some incredible things, and their clients are seeing some incredible results. So with that, thanks again, Andy, for your time, and be safe. And we hope to get back to being able to see each other again live and at a trade show coming soon, yes. Hopefully anyway. So thanks again, Andy. Take care.
Thank you, Scott.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening as always. Now, we're going to be talking about topics like this that are on target for the times that we find ourselves in. So it is important that you are listening to this podcast every single week, because the guests that I'm going to be bringing on and the topics we will be covering are relevant to what we are all going through right now. And it's just going to get better and better and better in terms of the content that we're going to be discussing, and it's going to be more timely than ever. So please, make sure you subscribe to the show and make sure you're paying attention to these episodes as they are coming out during this period, as I am specifically going out and finding guests who are providing really valuable information you need right now. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week.